Welcome to the Hot Read here on the 440 Sports Network, brought to you by ML Rose. That is not James Foster. That is Mike Herndon. I am Braden Gall. Mike, good to see you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Happy to be talking some football here.
You can read his work at paulkarski.com. And, of course, make sure you check out James Foster's film breakdown of Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans over at the 440 Sports YouTube page. That is an exclusive offering only on the YouTube page as well. This will, of course, you can follow us if you want to get involved. This is our first live episode of the Hot Read. I think it's my first live episode of the Hot Read. And obviously excited about where this show is going to go. Again, this is not going to be every week live at 12:13 on a Friday. But I wanted to get with you, Mike, and kind of get your feelings on the Titans so far to date. If you want to get involved, please jump into the comment section. YouTube, thumbs up, notifications turned on, that whole deal. And, of course, on the podcast app of choice, 5 stars only, because if you do not give us 5 stars, you are a hater. Mike, first and foremost, we're going to get to a lot of different things today on the show, and we'll talk rookie pass catchers, which you wrote about at paulkarski.com. We'll talk about the Colts as well. But I'm seeing a lot of stories right now from a lot of different people locally and nationally, just sort of about the team, the state of the franchise, the direction it's going. And I want to get your kind of broad strokes, big picture view of where this thing is going. So it seems like there's 2 big buckets of people, if maybe that's the right way to describe it, which is people that want to completely change everything about this organization, not named Cam Ward. And coaching staff needs to be fired. The general managers don't know what they're doing. Every 2 games, of course, through all of this. And then there's a group of people that are like, no, it's only 2 games. We've got to see what Cam Ward can do. Let's let Brian Callahan coach him. Let's let the offensive staff do their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. Is reality somewhere in the middle? Are you in one of those 2 camps? Are those the 2 camps? Where are you at with Cam Ward, Brian Callahan, this entire organization? Just a small question, Mike, to start.
I am, a little bitty bite size, warm up. I am in a 3rd camp, I think, actually, because I am in the camp that I thought Brian Callahan should have been fired after last year, because I thought that, and this is not, retrospective. This was something I said at the time. I thought if you were going to move on from Carthon or Callahan, you should move on from both. I thought they should have just ripped the Band-Aid off, gone clean, fresh start, because that 1.1 pick, the top overall pick, and the chance to reset the franchise around that person, I thought that was such a critical decision, and a decision I think they ultimately got right, because I do think Cam Ward was the right pick and gives them the most hope to kind of build around here. And I'm excited about what I've seen from Cam Ward, even though it's nowhere near, statistically what you want so far. But I thought they should have fired Callahan last year. I've seen nothing this year that would change my mind that they should have fired him. But I'm also, you gain nothing from firing him after 2 games, right? I mean, this is nothing that should happen now. They got to play out the season, and if you get to week 12, week 13, and it still looks like this, and they still are, kind of outliers in a bad way from an offensive efficiency standpoint, then yeah, I think you look at moving on and bringing in a new coaching staff. And yes, that sucks because you just invested a year of Cam Ward's rookie contract on a coach that you'd then be moving on from. But I think people, I do think you can break a quarterback to a degree, but I think you're going to have a hard time breaking Cam Ward, because I think he's made of the right stuff. And I think switching out a coach after 1 year, I mean, the guy played in several different universities, several different systems. When he went from Washington State to Miami, it didn't phase him one bit. I mean, the guy had the best year of his career. So I'm not convinced that you're going to break him if you change coaching staffs after 1 year. I don't subscribe to that notion.
Well, and frankly, and I say this a lot of times about, like, we could talk about Arch if you want. I think this about rookie, like freshmen or young quarterbacks in college football, that if you play a young player too soon in the SEC, which is a very physically demanding, mentally demanding position, more so than maybe anywhere else in college football, that there's this old school way of thinking that if you play a guy and, you could break his confidence. You could shatter his confidence. And my first thought is always, if his confidence is so fragile that some adversity on a football field in the country's toughest conference is going to permanently damage him. You weren't QB1 to begin with.
100%.
Period. And so I never believed in that, like just as a concept, like, oh, you can break him. Now, because I agree, I think Cam is wired in a certain way that he can handle adversity so nonchalantly that it probably drives people crazy. But I think it's to your point, I think it's the right stuff. Now I want to go back, because if you did not believe, because I don't have any science to back this up, but I would guess that it's probably like a 70-30. 70% of people were fine with Brian Callahan keeping the job to develop Cam Ward. I'm just guessing here. I did not hear a lot of people with your opinion.
It was unpopular, if my Twitter mentions were any indication last year.
As we've learned anything in the last 2 weeks, we should not be basing anything off of the mentions of any place on the internet. But that's neither here nor there. My point is I don't think, popular or unpopular, it was a minority opinion. And so if you didn't believe, to your point, if you didn't believe that Brian Callahan was the right guy for the job before you drafted Cam Ward, there is literally nothing in 2 games that you can say, oh, that I now feel differently about that. In fact, it's probably the other direction.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you thought wasn't, because I have problems with the coaching staff and what they're doing, and I think Cam Ward can do better. I think there's lots of players that need to fix the problems. Calvin Ridley, the offensive line, the penalties, etc. But I think the scheme is very sound. The players are open most of the time. They have been schemed in a way that is effective and efficient. For whatever reason, the plays don't work all the time or most of the time. So I want to know what you didn't like about, because I got a question over here that says Callahan is a good schemer, designer of plays. I don't think he's a good teacher, leader, disciplinarian, or play caller. Should have never brought someone in who hasn't installed his own offense before. So I don't know about the play calling. I think he's a good teacher because I think people respect him, and I think he's a really good communicator. But I don't know if he's a good play caller. I don't, because the scheme seems sound, but the timing seems off sometimes. Yeah. So give me your breakdown of like what specifically you don't like about the arrangement.
I think it really boils down to the simple fact of I never quite feel like this team is on the same page. Like they just never seem linked up, right? Like from player to player, from play to play, it just doesn't seem like there is any synchronicity between the players. It doesn't, we still too often see, and I don't know that we saw a specific example of it in the Rams game, but we did in Denver. The players running into each other or not knowing what play they're running or thinking someone else is doing something that they're not. And it just doesn't seem that, and I agree that the scheme works, and I think he understands scheme well, but I don't know that he's making it simple enough for the players to execute. And I think that's something that if you're having widespread issues, and we're talking about issues, with Calvin Ridley, who's, a 8-year vet, something like that.
What is Brian Callahan supposed to do, or any human supposed to do, when Calvin Ridley runs the wrong route and doesn't catch passes? How is that the coach's fault?
Well, I think maybe it's not his fault if it's one guy doing that, but when it's multiple guys doing that across the whole team, I think it points to coaching is somehow not getting through. And whether that's he doesn't have the ear of some of these guys, or he's not explaining things correctly, or the scheme or whatever he's asking them to do mentally is more challenging than what they can execute at a high level. I just think there's a disconnect. I want
to be clear. I am not excited about being the person in this conversation that defends Brian Callahan, but I don't know what I honestly like what situation, like Iomanner's in the right place all the time, makes plays. Pollard's had a fine start to the whole thing. Like I'm not sure the false starts aren't his fault. Jarvis Brownlee refusing to change his playing style based on referees telling him that's illegal, is not Brian Callahan's fault. Like I'm not, again, I don't like being the one defending him here, but I want to understand, like, I see a lot of open receivers, and I see a lot of plays where the ball doesn't get to those open receivers. I see major problems on the offensive line. That you might be blaming the wrong Callahan for that.
Well, yeah.
But some of the stuff I think the adjustments and the timing all very warranted concerns. We've talked about it on a football show with Suss and PK. But I don't know what he's supposed to do about some of the issues. Like any coach, like Ridley, I don't even know what to say about Calvin Ridley. It's like, dude, you just have to go fix this, man. Like, you get $90 million, catch the football. Like,
yeah. And the Ridley stuff is frustrating. And I feel like we were here with him last year too. And I thought it was going to be different, frankly, this year because of all the glowing reports about Cam and Ridley's relationship. And I mean, it was like the polar opposite of what we heard about Levis and Ridley last year during camp. Yeah. So it was like, okay, these guys are going to click and connect, and it just has not happened. Now, they eventually did get Ridley going later last season. So maybe Ridley's just a slow starter, and that's what we're seeing right now. But I just think, I don't know. I just think this is a sloppy football team, and at some point, it's got to be a reflection on coaching.
That I agree with. No argument there. So, mistake.
And I'm not going to disagree that they have personnel issues too. That some of this stuff, some of the penalty stuff, is frankly that they're overmatched, and when you're the worst player in a one-on-one matchup, you have to maybe grab a little bit to win the rep, or to try to hang in there against a Devontae Adams or whoever you're matched up against. So there are personnel issues that are baked into this too. I just don't think that the personnel issues are quite as extreme as they have been in recent seasons. Like on paper, this starting lineup for the most part on offense to me looks better than what they've had in recent years.
Certainly better than last year.
Like, and that's also, like Oli Udoh at right tackle, or John Ojukwu at right tackle. That's a major problem, right? Like, that's an issue. And then that magnifies your Dan Moore issue because you can't help Dan Moore. And I think their plan honestly was to let JC Latham block and help Dan Moore in pass protection.
Right.
Which would have made sense to me.
Slide everything to the left. This makes me, I don't know why this makes me think about this, but John Robinson was on Stillman and Company, now on the 440 Sports Network. Robinson was on there, and the most interesting nugget I think I took from the conversation, a lot of stuff about the history of the Titans and his decisions and the trades he's made, and a lot of that stuff, which is interesting. But the most interesting part that I got from him was he said he was studying. They were talking about offensive line issues in general, and Robinson was talking about studying the number of snaps that teams were leaving 5 blockers alone to do the job. And I thought this was really interesting that he said, when I got started in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was a 50-50 split that you would have a 6th player, either a back or a tight end or whatever, to help chip or to help slide protection or whatever it was. 50-50. 5 players blocking versus 6 or more. I was like, okay, that sounds about right. He goes, now it's like 75-25, 5 blockers. And I thought that was an interesting shift. I mean, that ties in, that makes sense. It ties into having more athletes in space. It ties into the rules, helping quarterbacks and receivers be more effective at their jobs. It all makes sense logically. But it does put a lot more pressure on offensive linemen to do their job by themselves. And frankly, in a time where, and this is not a new concept, but it's something I've been talking about for a long time, 7-on-7 tournaments give you so many reps that quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, tight ends, and corners and safeties have so much practice time throughout the course of their careers in high school and in college. Like you're running thousands of 7-on-7 reps by the time you graduate college and are being drafted. If you're a receiver, if you're a corner, if you're a quarterback. And you know who doesn't get any of that shit? Offensive and defensive linemen. They don't get any of that because you cannot replicate that physicality at the line of scrimmage in a practice with no pads. Yeah. You just can't. So they're getting less development, and they're being put on an island more. And if you put those two things together, you have what we have now, which feels like a crisis of blocking at all levels of football. And the Titans seem like the biggest victim of all of this.
And I'd also add that defensive ends and edge rushers generally have never been freakier than what we see today. And that's true of a lot of positions on the football field, but it's particularly true at edge, where you think about the body types that you can throw into an edge rusher. And if you're, appropriately athletic and long, I mean, you've got guys like, Nick Bonito, who's 6'2", 245. And then you go up to like a Myles Garrett, who's 6'5", 270, 280. And these body types are much wider ranged. And it just allows the kind of cream to rise to the top easier, because there's only so many tackle bodies on earth, right? Like, you have to be a very specific size person to be a tackle in the NFL. Yep. There's a lot more edge bodies, and those guys make a lot of money, and
I'm convinced
path.
I'm convinced Lawrence Taylor would just be a guy today.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he'd probably be Nick Bonito.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy. But nobody had seen that type of player at that position at that time yet, and so now it's like, oh, now they're everybody. Now they're everywhere. To your point. I mean, hell, they're pulling them off basketball courts. It's like, oh, you're a power forward who's not good enough to play in the NBA. Why don't you come try rushing the passer? Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. So, look, we could spend an hour and a half, a week and a half discussing the Brian Callahan situation. What are you optimistic about with this team as it is currently constructed? I know you just wrote about the rookie pass catchers. There's lots of Io Manor talk, and I am proud to say that the only pick I got correct in my mock draft was Alec Io Manor to the Titans. He's a guy I've always loved. He is a ball catcher. Is what I call him. And because it doesn't matter if he's covered or open, he is going to try to make a play and going to do it quite well most of the time. He's not the greatest athlete. That doesn't matter. Devontae Adams isn't the greatest athlete. So I want to know, outside of Io Manor, which you wrote about and which we all can talk about, I want to know broadly or specifically, what part of the team are you excited about for the future in terms of its potential?
This is going to sound weird coming off the discussion we just had, but
Brian Callahan.
I'm kind of excited about the offensive line, in the fact that I think Peter Skoronski has already turned into a very, very good guard, to the point where I think he could be in the mix for Pro Bowl, All-Pro kind of stuff this year. I mean, he's playing that well at left guard. You have a foundational piece now there. I also think before J.C. Latham left the game against the Broncos, or really I think before he aggravated that hip issue that he's been dealing with, I thought he looked great. I thought he looked noticeably better, especially as a pass protector, compared to what he did last year in those first couple quarters against Denver. And I thought when he left the game, it was a huge just avalanche of pressure that kind of fell on Cam Ward after Latham left the game. I thought that was a very clear breaking point in that game from a pass protection standpoint. So I think you actually have two guys there that you can build around. And I think Cushenberry will be better as the year goes on, because he's coming back from the Achilles. He'll work the rust out. I think you've got some pieces along the offensive line. I'm not nearly convinced that Dan Moore is going to be around past the end of this year. It would be very expensive to cut him, but maybe you should try to find someone else pretty quick.
Wow, $80 million given up on $80 million in 2 games
down the drain. I mean,
wow.
It'll be interesting to see. I will, in Dan Moore's defense, Nick Bonito and Jared Verse was a hellacious starting spot for him, and it will get easier this week. It'll go back to hard next week when he sees the freaks in the Houston edge room. But Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are going to have a field day with these Titans tackles. It's going to be real ugly.
Yikes.
But he should have a better matchup this week. So if he struggles against the Colts, that ring all the alarm bells. But this should be better for him. And that's not to, totally dismiss Laiatu Latu, but he's not Nick Bonito or Jared Verse. I'm a little bit excited about the offensive line, and I think arrow pointing up for the linebackers too. Like, I think Cody Barton, they found a guy. They finally found an inside linebacker that I think can be a leader of the defense and can really play that position in all 3 downs, all 3 phases. I'm a little bit excited about Cedric Gray too. So I think there's a few spots where you can be a little optimistic.
I think what's interesting about the linebacking comment to me, and this kind of can pivot us towards the Colts matchup here. And if you want to go, so from offensive line standpoint, Nick and I talked about this, the Colts right now are, I think, either worst or second to worst in the NFL in sort of first down success defense, one of the worst first down defenses in the entire league. They're giving up huge chunk plays on the ground and through the air. I think they've actually given up 112 yards on first down, passing and rushing, which is a very strange stat that I enjoy. Like 22 snaps for like 112 yards on the ground, 21 snaps for 112 yards through the air. Fascinating to me. How balanced and how poorly balanced their defense is on first down. Opportunity for the Titans to do something on first down is what I'm saying here. To your Dan Moore comment. So I think that's a reason to be excited short term about this potential matchup. But the question I have about the linebacking core is that the book is, and I saw this on the very first drive against Denver. Sean Payton is not a dummy. And he looked at the defense and he said, where are we going to attack this defense? And they threw quick hitches and curls and slants. They threw the ball like 43 times for at 5 yards an attempt because they knew the Titans could not cover in zone over the middle.
Yeah.
And the book, they could not cover Puka. They could not cover over the middle in zone, and that is going to be another problem this week, I think. Now, I don't think the Colts are all that great at really that much of anything, but they've got some pieces. Michael Pittman, really good at working zone coverage over the middle.
Yeah.
If Tyler Warren's fully healthy, you know what he does really well? He can work zone coverage over the middle. So I'm concerned that Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, they all have the same weakness, which is zone coverage. And I'm concerned that is just going to be something that people hammer every single week. And the adjustment might be the third safety. It might be Kevin Winston being healthy enough to play. It might be rolling Amani Hooker up near the line of scrimmage a lot. McCreary, they've got to have something in there. More man coverage. Problem is when you go man, I know L'Jarius Sneed was better last week, but then maybe that last play indicated, but in the key moment, L'Jarius Sneed was cooked in man coverage by Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm optimistic about this matchup, but I am concerned about there being such a glaring issue that every other coach seems to have already picked up on instantly.
Yeah, I definitely think that's an area of the field that seems to be inviting attack through the passing game. Yeah. But I do think that there's reason to believe that they can improve in that sense, because I mean we are still talking about Cedric Gray's second real game of any sort of NFL experience.
That's true.
And I think Barton, I think Barton's been pretty good. I mean, have they given up yards in his area? Sure. But not. I don't think it's been egregious. I think he is a smart player, and as he gets more comfortable in the defense too, we'll start to see him, making more anticipation plays and things like that. So,
just don't get lost on fourth down when you're in the hole and nobody's blocking you and you're facing the wrong direction when the running back goes by.
Yeah.
I like Cody Barton personally. I think he's a likable person, and I think as a teammate and a leader, I think he's one of the vocal guys that I think. And I think Suss and I were talking about this on yesterday's show, and that is like and I think this goes to your point about the disconnected nature of the team. Because we were talking about Cam's mentality and how a mentality from the quarterback kind of trickles in and leaks into a locker room, and that his kind of quiet confidence and like the nonchalant, which I think is a positive, towards fixing his mistakes. Like, oh, my footwork needs to be better. And he's just sort of like, yeah, I got to fix my footwork. It's like he's so kind of chill about all of it, which I think is okay. That like, who are the other voices and personalities that where that leadership trickles into other people? And the problem I think in the Titans locker room, my first instinct, without doing any like conversations with any of the players about this, my first instinct was the most expensive players on the team are kind of weird.
Yeah.
Simmons isn't the true version of himself that he probably thinks he is. Ridley's a little quirky and weird. Dan Moore has struggled in a big way. L'Jarius Sneed has the off the field stuff, whatever you want to make of that. I'm not saying it's a big deal, but like it's there. And so
barely just practices with the team.
Right. So like that all feels weird to me. Like that all just kind of is weird. Cody Barton is one of the few that is there every single day doing everything he's supposed to do and messaging that to everybody around him. And I think the hope is that he is actually the match to Cam Ward on the defense. So all that to say, I like Cody Barton. But
we got some things to iron out.
We
But,
got some things to iron out. What about the game are you looking forward to the most in terms of the matchups?
I think I'm most excited to see the Titans offense against a defense that I think they have a little bit more hope of succeeding against. Because I think those two were two good defenses that they played those first 2 weeks, and I'm willing to give them somewhat of a grade on a curve for that, especially going 2 Mile High in week 1, notoriously tough place to start a season, as well as play any time of year really. But I'm excited to see that matchup. Like, can they give Ward enough protection that he can get comfortable and make some more of those plays that we saw kind of flash in the Rams game? Can you take advantage of what I'd still think? And I feel like this Colts team has kind of been the same team for like been the same team for a decade, basically.
It's 53 B minuses on Madden. They don't have any A's, but they don't have any C's. It's all just B minuses everywhere.
Like they're all
except for Jonathan Taylor, I guess.
They're pretty much like always tough to run on, but the secondary is a question mark, and the offensive line's always good, but the quarterback's not. And it's just it's the same team, like reheated every year. But it's I think it is an opportunity for the passing game to maybe get on track a little bit. The Colts defense has been decent enough the first 2 weeks, but I think this is an easier matchup for the Titans offense, and maybe we start to see them get on track with Ridley picking it up a little bit, continuing Iomanner's momentum, maybe getting the ball. I do think they need to get the ball in DK's hands more, just because what we see from him with the ball in his hands on special teams has been phenomenal. And they're trying, like you can see, they're running some of the reverses and wide receiver screens, which have been a disaster because the wide receivers can't block. And I know we complained for years about the Titans wide receivers being known for blocking, but it kind of sucks when they can't block too. So it's but I think they got to get DK the ball more. He is exciting with the ball in his hands, and he's one of those guys, one of the few that I feel like could take a short play and turn it into a long play on this roster. And they need some of that. They need some explosives.
And that was a penalty. I know people didn't want in the stadium when I was listening to everybody cry and moan about it. I was like, it's kind of ticky tack, but it's a penalty on the peel back or whatever.
It was a correct call. It was a better call than
That's right. Mark says, who's the better option at tackle with Latham being out again as of right now? Not spotted at practice today. Tavondre Sweat, Kevin Zeitler, Jarvis Brownlee, Bryce Oliver, J.C. Latham. Latham will be out. There is a chance that the Snead is practicing today, but there's a chance Snead is banged up as well. Jarvis Brownlee could be out. Looks like it's going to be Ojukwu and Udo again, and that they have not made it as of time of taping right now. 48 hours from kickoff, they have not made a decision who's going to play right tackle. I know this sounds insane, but why not just 6 offensive linemen?
They should get on that decision. I don't
just tackle eligible in every play.
I would actually say I think Ojukwu is the better option of the two. Udo to me was a disaster against Denver. I mean, it was real bad. And Ojukwu had the penalty issues and gave up a sack himself against LA. But I thought as the game went on, he kind of settled in a little bit. And I would rather see him continue to get the run out there, right tackle.
Zach says, what about Jalen Armour Davis? They claimed all these guys and I haven't heard it. They're actually, Callahan, I think, is talking about him literally as we speak. Callahan says that Armour Davis will likely be the first in on Sunday with Snead and Brownlee both injured, and also Marcus Harris will be number 2 behind him. So meaning if one of those two guys isn't going, it's going to be Armour Davis off the bench first, Marcus Harris off the bench second. And again, I would imagine 3 safety looks as often as possible to help both your linebacking depth and to help your cornerback depth. That is for sure. So
and their safeties have been good. I think
so too. Yeah.
Woods, Hooker, Diggs, everybody's been good. And I am super excited to see Winston. I really want to see him kind of get
I agree
here, but
he's my favorite player they drafted. Him and Iomanner were my 2 favorite players, and then Helm. I really like this draft class. I
do too, and I think they've looked good so far. I think that's been one of the shining hopeful pieces of this first two games is the rookies.
I'm staring at your Vince Young jersey here on YouTube. Hopefully everybody's watching. But I did talk to Gunner. I was like, man, you found any good brisket spots in town yet? Like you went to, I know he's from Colorado originally, but you live in Austin for a couple years. You know how to cook. You know how good cow tastes. And I was like, hey, you found any? He's like, no, I can't find any good brisket spots. And I was like, Mando, I got a sponsor for you. I know we're brought to you by ML Rose. So ML Rose, but also Shotgun Willie's Barbecue is great. Great brisket.
Absolutely. I will say brisket is different here. It is different. I went to Chicago and we had brisket up there for some reason. I mean, what a mistake.
Go get some Italian in Chicago. We saved the brisket for the state of Texas. I learned how to eat ribs and eat brisket when I was in middle school in Austin. So if you learn about that there, it's just not going to be better anywhere else. So,
it's very hard to beat.
It is, which is a perfect time for me to say ML Rose is our great, amazing sponsor here locally. 7 great locations all across the Middle Tennessee area. They got the new one in my neighborhood over here in East Nashville. And what's so great about it is they have an SEC Wing War competition going on. It is a fantastic place to watch games on Saturday and Sunday because they have a 2-for-1 drink special. So it's like 2-for-1 beers, 2-for-1 mimosas and Bloody Marys. They've got a great brunch menu, but on Saturdays, there's a great wing special, which is basically buy 16, get 8 for free. And then you tell your server, your bartender, they ask you, they say, who's your favorite SEC team? You say Texas. And then they put the wings on Texas, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of wings are being, it's like a Jello shot competition in Nashville.
Yeah. Like
and so I'm gonna go on Saturday tomorrow and take a picture of the leaderboard. I think Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Alabama are the top 3 right now, and it's like 480 to like 350 to like 290, and I'm like, Vanderbilt, what are you doing acting like a real college football fan base? Drinking beer and eating wings and watching other teams play football? That's not what Vanderbilt does. What are we talking about here?
Hey, it's a new Commodore down there. It's a new Commodore.
That's right.
New stadium, new team.
It's a very, very, very fun team to watch. That is for sure.
It is.
Mark says, why won't Callahan let us take any deep shots? I don't know if I agree with that since and you wrote about this, they clearly are comfortable going down the field outside the numbers to Alec Iomanner. And they've been scheming helm open on these like 15, 18-yard bench routes most of the year in 2 games. So maybe they haven't taken the straight shot yet, but Cam needs to see that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think to that point about the Iomanner, they have been spamming this one specific play with him, and it's basically just an ISO vertical route with him, and it gives them a chance to either beat the guy off the line and go over the top or do the back shoulder fade. And he's very good at that, and they've found some good success with that early on, and I love that because they're basically taking what he was best at Stanford and copy pasting that into their offense. And so I've enjoyed that part of it. And I think you should keep going to that well. I mean, there's very few corners that are going to match up super well with Alec Iomanner at 6'2", 210 out on the outside with his ability to adjust and play the ball in the air. I think that's a matchup they need to be exploiting frequently. And I also think it's time for us to see DK on some of these crossers. That was his big calling card coming out of Florida. Let's see some of that.
With Cam, and I want to let you kind of go on this one. Like, has your opinion changed about Cam Ward? I know we started with like the patience versus, blow it up kind of deal about on the team, but I think that's the same conversation around the quarterback. And I'm curious, and I want to say you and I were talking about him before the draft plenty, and I don't know if I've talked to you since he's been drafted and part of the team and now playing games. Has any part of your evaluation of the prospect actually changed at all, having studied him in the summer and now through 2 games?
No, I think going back to, I guess, the end of last college football season, and then when I really went into studying him as an actual college player and watching him over and over and over again, I think my opinion on him changed because the highlights and all that stuff that was what he became known for. That was what you saw if you were watching games. I wasn't tuned into every single Miami game for all 4 quarters. But that was what you saw, was the highlight plays, the improvisational stuff, all that. but he's much better from the pocket than what I gave him credit for. And I think that's still a work in progress here, because he's still getting comfortable with new offense, new weapons, and I mean, frankly, they're rolling out a lot of young receivers, which I think is a good thing for the
offensive line, just like perfectly formed pockets all the time.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Alex Mirabel is a miracle worker down there, but it's different here. I think he's very much the same guy that I thought he was. I think he's maybe got more arm talent than what I kind of gave him credit for. I mean, that throw, obviously on the touchdown pass to Iamaner, a tremendous arm strength to get it there and to have it carry all the way to where it landed.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a throw with that trajectory in my entire 43 years of watching football.
It was insane. I mean, I screamed watching it. And I think also you see the arm angle stuff and the ability to get this zip on the ball on short throws, just basically throwing it like a dart, and I think that stuff is all useful and exciting. And it's stuff that was on his Miami tape too, but I think his arm talent maybe even a little bit better than what I thought.
I think his poise and maturity and his all that stuff is beyond what I expected. But all the flaws and the things that you knew he needed to work on, all that stuff is like very much still sitting there. Yeah, and this is where I'll channel James Foster, who is not feeling great, and so that's why Mike's here in the first place. But I'll channel him from his film study this week about Cam, which is I wanted to know, and I asked James, I said, hey, I want to look at all the plays where he gets sacked and the ball is being held a little too long. I want to know if there were options. Like, I want to find out if there were things to throw to. And almost across the board in every one of those sacks, James Foster is like, if he just waits a beat longer, there is somebody breaking open on almost every play. Yeah. And so I don't know if that's him getting acclimated to the pressure of the NFL, meaning the offensive line's not blocking for him, or is that him getting acclimated to the speed, or that you have to be standing in the pocket taking hits as a player in the NFL. That's just part of your job. So that is something he's got to work on. James has also been big on the sort of down the field inaccuracy deep shot, not the slot quick fade, but like the true deep ball. Those were kind of inaccurate at Miami. And, the footwork may not be a problem. Like Mahomes and Rodgers throw off platform all the time, but, they're the greatest. So they can do that. So I think all the things that I needed to see him work on. The beauty of Cam Ward is that he's like, I got to do all that. Yeah. Like, he's just like, yeah, you're right. Like, if you said that to him, I'd be like, hey, how, do you think you need to work on your footwork? He'd be like, yeah. and that would be it. He wouldn't even be that big a deal. He'd be like, yeah, I need to be better about that. Jordan says, who will get their first win, the Titans or me in the Football Show Fantasy Football League? Listen, Jaden Daniels is my quarterback, and I don't know how healthy he is. So the answer is probably the Titans.
Yeah, that could be a problem. I have Josh Allen as my quarterback, so I'm living the dream this year.
GTFOH. Okay. All right. If you guys have any more questions, please jump in and drop those guys. Here you go. Mark says, do you guys think we see Restrepo at any point this season?
Not unless there's a lot of injuries.
I have no comment.
It would have to be like 5 injuries, I think, to the wide receiver room.
I guess I'm curious because I want to be fair to the player.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious what fans think he brings. And is it just like on 3rd and 3, he is thick enough to catch a pass 4 yards downfield and handle the tackles, the physicality of that job? Is that what you expect him to do? Because I don't think he can do anything else.
Yeah, I think, and I liked Restrepo coming out, and so I still think there's a skill set there. I just think, I don't know, I'd be interested to see what it looked like in an NFL game. I do think he's got some of that like short area ability to uncover, and he's tough and savvy with his route running ability. That kind of thing. Like, I think I could see him being a guy that finds soft spots in zones well and can kind of sit down and give you a target to hit. But I don't know. I don't know that that's more valuable because I think there's other guys on the roster that can do that.
Or Forrest, I don't want to see 5 receivers go down so we can see Restrepo get blown up at the point of the catch. And that is what would probably have to happen. Not only, you'd have to see a lot of players get hurt. So
I think so.
If Mark says if we go 0-6, I wouldn't mind seeing him compared to Lockett or Van Jefferson. There's actually, I mean, I think this is kind of your point around him. Like, he does 2 or 3 things really, really, really well.
Yeah.
The physicality, the hands catch, the traffic, the work ethic, all that kind of stuff. The problem is that this is kind of why I didn't get to play in college. Is like, I could do all of that stuff too, but eventually you do have to have a certain level of athleticism.
Yeah.
Like in the NFL, you need a certain level of athleticism, and he just doesn't hit the marks on that stuff. Like, he just doesn't. And so it doesn't matter how smart you are, how hardworking you are, how good your technique is. At some point, you do have to reach a certain threshold of agility, speed, quickness, whatever, and he just might not ever hit those. I mean, Io Manor is kind of the example here. He doesn't hit those marks at the high end level for like a wide receiver 1. He doesn't hit the same explosive speed and agility, but he does everything else really well. But he has a minimum amount of athleticism that gets him open. That, and you can see it. I watched enough of the practice reps to look at them like running one after the other, going like, "Oh, that's a NFL receiver," and that might not be.
Yeah. But Io Manor is funny to me because, like, I mean, he ran well. Like, his 40 time was pretty good. But he's got some of that, and he's not as fast as Ridley. So I don't want to like make this comparison 1-to-1. But the way Ridley runs his routes, the way he throttles up and throttles down quickly, Io Manor's got a little bit of that to him. And I don't know if it's just the burst that I see when he pulls off the line. I think he's got a little bit of juice. I don't know. I'm very high on Io Manor.
I love the prospect. I will say this about Ridley though. I like the most talented receivers: AJ Brown, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, there's some Hall of Famers in there that have been through camp in the last 5 years. No one is close to Calvin Ridley's burst in and out of breaks.
No,
I've never seen anybody. I've never seen anybody do what he does in those breaks. Like, it's different.
It is legitimately like watching prime Julio. Like, if you watch some of the Julio kind of his Falcons days video, that is what it is. I mean, it's like a sports car taking off. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Nick says, "What can Callahan do?" This is a better question for you, because my answer to this: what can Callahan? What does he have to show you this year to make? To show you that he deserves another year? And for me, it's simple. It's like progress and growth in small kind of steps. But I'm probably a little higher on Callahan maybe than you are. I'm not saying that I think he should keep his job. I'm just saying I wasn't out on him last offseason the way you were. So what do you, you're the skeptic here. What do you need to see from him?
Yeah, I would need to see a good bit of growth. And I'm not going to put like a win total on that necessarily, but they need to be able to win some games. They need to be showing progress on offense. I need to see this offense start to put up, 20, 25, 30 points.
20 points? 20 points?
Real nice. Yeah, in this economy. But we've got to see the offense take some steps forward. That is his baby. And I mean, look, and this goes to my point about coaching. I think what you're seeing from the Titans special teams unit is a perfect example of what coaching can do for this, basically the same guys. I mean, yes, DK is new and they've got a few different pieces in there, but the most of the like 11 guys that are trotting out there for special teams are guys that were here last year, and they are very much different from a performance standpoint. I guess maybe you could say the key guys have changed because like Hecker, Sly, DK,
the punter are different.
The guys that touch the balls, but the guys that are not touching the ball, that are blocking and executing a lot of this other stuff, they are basically the same guys. Bryce Oliver, Cedric Gray, and James Williams. Yeah.
And that's the question. It's like, why? And we had the same discussion on the football show with Nick. It's like, my answer to that is that I think it's much easier to impact the bottom of your roster with coaching than the top of your roster. Yeah. And the question is sort of like, why was it easy for the special teams to overachieve so quickly and impossible for Brian Callahan or Denard Wilson to get their players to overachieve as quickly? And I think it's because you just can't change at the top of the roster, like with coaching and talent, as much as you can coach up Bryce Oliver to do something different. I just think that the lower you go down the roster, the more impact your coaching probably has in general. So but I think the answer is fair, which is like, why can't you find that level of influence as a head coach? And where right now, like last year, I think you saw some of that in some places where Callahan made somebody better. Right now, people in the Denver game are like, well, he was a net negative and his decisions were bad. I still think 90% of the coaching job is the install and the week of preparation, not like challenge or not to challenge. That's like a tiny fraction of your job. Yeah. Now, he did a bad job, but like that's a tiny fraction of your job.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had an impact really on the team. Like, I feel like the adjustments and the timing and the play calling, it just, those are my questions right now about him. And so I want to see them do something well in the first quarter that is then taken away from them. And then I want to know what he does next after that. And I have not really seen that progression yet. And that's sort of what I want to see.
Yeah.
In terms of like, hey, I think he deserves to be here and deserves the chance to develop Cam Ward, etc. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
And I want to see him elevate something here. I mean, because I understand the roster is what it is, and your top end players are what they are. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, Will Levis got worse going from year one under Tim Kelly and Mike Vrabel to year two under Brian Callahan. From a performance standpoint, execution, I'm not saying that's all Brian Callahan's fault, but at some point we need to see him make somebody better. I think you could argue maybe Peter Skoronski has gotten better under him, but I don't know a whole lot of other guys that I could rattle off that have clearly improved their game in a year and a half, under Brian Callahan. So show me that you can develop people, develop team, get some better performance by the end of this season. And be able to hang in games. I mean, finish a game, don't crater out. Don't crash out, as the kids say, halfway through the third quarter every game.
Oh, crash out. That's what my daughters are telling me all the time now. Your son's not there yet where he comes home and he's like, Dad, that's so sus. And I'm like, no. I'm like, no cap, babe, no cap.
It is stunned to me. He is 5. He is in kindergarten and he comes home saying all that stuff. And I like, he came home doing the 6'7" thing. And I was like, what is this? I had to watch a Instagram reel to understand.
He looks at you after after 3 first down running plays by the Titans offense. He looks at you and he goes, Brian Callahan, Dad, is 6'7".
Exactly. I'm like, you're what? 5. Stop. What are we doing?
You just got to do it back to them, and that's when they'll stop.
Yeah, it's not cool
if they're rage baiting you got to rage bait them back, and that'll end the conversation real fast. So it's like,
all right.
My 2 years ago, my first child's coming home, or my first grader's going like, oh, Dad, that's so sus. And so I just started saying sus to her like about everything, and she just stopped saying it. She stopped. Now the new one, my older one she's in 3rd grade, and she's saying, the way they talk about boys, it's like, oh man, he's so contagious. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right. Let's just remember that when you're in high school and in college, all right?
Yeah, very contagious.
Yeah, no cap, kosher, no cap. Skibbity, Ohio, skibbity toilet. Let's go. I got a buddy who's got 2 teenage boys, and so I'm just like, what are they saying now?
You gotta stay ahead of it.
It starts there, and then I can predict where the grade schoolers are going to come with. So from the pessimistic ML Rose, everybody, from the pessimistic side on Callahan, what would Cam need to show to make you think we can lure a high-end coaching candidate if we fire Callahan? There are only 32 of these jobs, and only a handful of them are open. You're going to get good candidates.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to turn down this job because of anything that Cam does or doesn't do this year. Yeah. I think the better he plays, maybe the more attractive it makes it, because if you have a choice, to go to a place that has a quarterback that looks promising or a place that doesn't, obviously good quarterback can make you look good pretty quick. But I think Cam, I mean, even what he's shown in these first 2 games, I think any coach worth his salt is going to look at Cam and say, there's enough tools here
I can work with
for me to turn this into something. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And remember, John Robinson was the assistant general manager, I believe, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who decided to take Jameis Winston over Marcus Mariota, and then immediately took the job GMing Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
Remember that? Like, I just want to point that out. So,
yeah,
Frank Reich. No. I do like Joe Brady, but not Frank Reich. Frank Reich is not a head coaching option in the NFL.
No, I think
the name I like the most. Because I do want to ask you one last question about your boys, not the Titans.
Oh no,
Buster Faulkner. offensive coordinator, Georgia Tech.
Okay. All right.
I love what they're doing. He's a Todd Monken disciple, coordinator at Baltimore. Learned under him at Georgia. He's now at Georgia Tech, and look at the Jackets. They are 3-0 after beating Clemson. They are a really good team, and their offense is absolutely so much fun to watch. It is very much like a Kyle Shanahan offense. Lots of pre-snap motion, lots of physicality. Jackson Hawes, the tight end for Buffalo last night, who caught touchdown pass, number one tight end in the NFL according to PFF through 2 weeks. Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket last year.
They've got some stuff going on there. I love.
They're so much fun. They're so much fun. Like only they will run like a counter RPO on 4th and 2 on the 30-yard line and score a touchdown.
Yeah,
and you're like, what are you guys doing? It's so much fun to watch them. So keep an eye on. Just remember that name. All right, what's happening with Arch Manning? Tell me what's going on.
All right, so I've seen some convincing takes on this week. I have been in a dark place with Arch over the last 3 weeks. But I have seen some convincing. Joel Klatt had one of them, and I think David Ash, the former Texas quarterback.
Oh wow, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, he doesn't do much, but he came out of the woodworks with an Arch take, and I think this may be the right one. I think he is pressing. I think he is his brain is trying to move too quickly, and it's affecting everything else. And I think he is overdoing it. I think he's rattled a little bit at this point because of some of the early struggles. And I think he needs just one good game, just a cleanse to get the confidence back going, to show he can do it. They're playing Sam Houston State tomorrow. That should be it. They need it to be it because they go to Florida 2 weeks after that, after a bye week. But if they could get one good game from Arch this weekend, going into a bye week with some momentum, I think he could right the ship over the back half. There's nothing wrong with him physically that
I think he's fine.
Do it.
Yeah.
And I just don't buy that he suddenly forgot how to throw an accurate football, because he was really good against Mississippi State last year. And yes, I know it's Mississippi State, but like he was 26 of 31 in that game, and he was pushing the ball down the field. These were not. I think he's got a little bit of the yips, and I hope he can come out of it.
I also think part of what makes him a special athlete, prospect, 5-star recruit, etc., is the athleticism, not just the pocket stuff. And he'll figure that stuff out. I think it is way too easy for everyone in media and for fans to just overreact to every single Saturday and Sunday of their lives in the fall. And then, we fire everybody every weekend, and everybody's wrong and everybody's right. And I told you so. And it's just, unfortunately, that is the media technology environment that we live in today. And it is what it is, Mike, until we solve some problems in our country that are around technology. It is going to be incentivized to call for Arch Manning to be benched.
To be the loudest and the craziest person out there. Yes.
What gets me attention? I want attention, Mike. Give me the attention.
Speaking of getting attention, we need a few seconds.
Yes, look at all these
Golden Eagles. Because we are
wings up, baby.
An absolute wagon up in Cookeville right now. We have won our first 3 games, 65-0, 45-17 over Chattanooga, and then 72-14. And we are coming to Nashville this weekend to stomp some TSU Tiger ass.
There you go. Just say it.
I thought for a second, I was like, wait, am I on the radio? No.
Hey, my best scholarship offer as a football player coming out of high school was Tennessee Tech. That was my best offer. So I'm glad that they've gotten better since then. So, all right, Mike, where can the good people find your work and find you, and tell everybody, like, if they need a roof engineered for them, like where they can go? And
if you need a great big metal building for your business, call me. Send me a DM. I will hook you up.
Could you build me just the roof on like some stalks, and so that I don't have to pay for the building part? I could just put my studio underneath the roof.
You just want a roof only? Yeah, we've done roof onlys. We've done we've done it, you name it. We've done it at a metal building. So, but that's my other business. But paulkoharski.com for anything Titans writing related, and then on Twitter at Mike Herndon SK1. Yeah,
there you go. Hook 'em, baby. The real UT is off this weekend, so just they have a bye week this weekend. Just want to point that out.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm not going to get mad about it. I'm not going to get mad.
It's okay.
You're baiting me.
The University of Tennessee was a university before Texas was a state.
Well, that's true.
And remember, I went to middle school and elementary school in Texas, so I've learned my Texas history.
Sure.
I just want to point out who went down to Texas to help win the independence from Mexico in the 1800s. I believe they were called volunteers.
Volunteers in Tennessee. Yeah, that's true. And full marks for passing the baton to us so that we could take it higher.
That's fair. That's fair. Rage bait away. All right, man. Thank you guys for jumping in the comments. I do appreciate it. Mike, always a pleasure, man, to have you. Really appreciate you jumping on and having a good time here and being a good sport about it. So thank you for that. Make sure you check out Paul Kaharski after the game. You got Jared Stillman after the game. You got Stillman and company every single weekday. You got Kaharski podcast up now. You got football show, Music City Audible. So much stuff out there covering the Titans from the 440 Sports Network. So check out the YouTube page, ML Rose, for all your Saturday and Sunday football needs. You got discounts. You got beer specials. You got great TVs. You got great places to watch games. Always, it's my kid's favorite. It's my wife's favorite. It's my favorite. So make sure you check out those wings on Saturday and all the discounts and all the beer specials on Sunday for your Titans game. So enjoy the weekend. Have a good one, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. James is back next week, so just stay tuned for that. Otherwise, for Mike, I'm Braden. Thanks for listening. Have a good one, everybody.